Okay everybody, before we get into the video, a friendly reminder that my open house is happening Saturday, September 30th, and it's gonna be a great event. So I have a lot of cool people coming. Moto Mango, Jish, Motorcycle Rewind, Ace Cafe Bikes, 113 Cycles, and many more. So if you guys are in the greater St. Louis area, or you wanna come in from out of town, you are more than welcome. Come check this place out, come hang out, and it's gonna be a good time. Got a lot of cool people coming in. If you guys are interested in enjoying some good food, some drinks, cool car show, and some door prizes, I highly recommend you go over to my Facebook page, check out the event link, that'll be in the description, and mark going. Hope to see you guys here. Anyway, let's get to the video. All right, I am in the kind of original warehouse right now, and I'm chipping away on getting into my new location, the all-in-one spot. And to do that, one of the key components is a workbench that I'm building. So behind me I have one of my new toolboxes, and this thing I'm actually going to build a bench around. Now we're going to very closely resemble the existing bench that I have in my shop, and I want it to kind of match the overall height of my current bench. So one issue I'm encountering is the fact that I still have the original wheels on the actual toolbox. This is like, I don't know, 6¼ inches from the actual bottom of the box to the bottom of the wheel. And I need to lose a couple inches here because the toolbox that I have at home, I actually built a cradle to hold the toolboxes themselves. Those do not have any wheels on them. Whereas this one, I want to still be able to move it around and just like maybe lift the table off of it and then move the toolbox independently. So had to kind of get creative here and do some searching online, and I have come up with a low-profile caster. So through some online searching, I found this place called Caster HQ, and let's hope these things fit. So these are a heavy-duty, low-profile. It's like 2¼ inches or something like that, and it has a plastic wheel on it so it won't mar up the floor, and it should have the same mounting pattern as the existing wheels. So let's go ahead and see if that's going to be the case. And so far, oh yeah, we're golden. So you can see already, that's going to be awesome right there. And these things are locking. Not that we'll really need that part, because this thing will be kind of contained in the framework that I build around it, but this is an important step because I have to mount these, then I can get my overall height dimension to then build my bench around. So anyway, I'm going to get started with taking these things off. We'll get them swapped out. Okay, comparing the two, 6¼ on the obviously tall wheel, and then down here we're looking at right at 3 inches. So that is going to be perfect for our needs. Obviously this is a more heavy-duty wheel than this, but this is still rated at, I think, over 350 pounds for this one. And with 6 wheels, that is plenty enough for the toolbox that I have, plus most of everything is going to be on top of the actual workbench, not on the toolbox itself. So these are going to be just fine. All right, these things are mounted. I'm going to go ahead and lower this thing down. We'll get our overall measurement. This is definitely going to do exactly what we need it to do. That way I can build the bench over top. Now, just in case you're wondering, if this thing had the original wheels on it, the bench height is perfect for like a work surface. But since we're putting it underneath like my countertop, so we have like 2 inches to account for here, we need to lower this thing as much as possible. So that is why we're replacing the wheels with something that's over 2 inches shorter. That way we have room to grow, essentially. Certified. All right. Let's see what we got. Right at 35. So ideally, I think I have my bench at 36 inches. So, you know, obviously we're 1 inch short. Now, another thing I can do is remove this piece of kind of butcher block top here. This is 3/4 of an inch. And that should put us perfectly kind of where we need to be. So this will just kind of be sitting underneath its own little cage. It won't be tied into the bench specifically, and it won't be a structural piece of the bench, as you will see as we get to building it. So this is exactly what we needed. Really like it.
What follows is a brief construction montage. We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
All right, here is the assembly line for the workbench build. So we're gonna get rolling on this thing. We have basically all of the material cut, and the plan is to mimic the current workbench in my shop. Loosely, it's not gonna be exact because the engineering of it is a little bit different, but it will be close enough and it will match the look. So I'm gonna flip the mic around and I'll walk you through what we have and what we're doing. Okay, to start off, we have the Husky box I have talked about that we put these shorter wheels on because we were targeting a 36-inch from floor to top of work surface, because that is what's going to match our other box at home. Now, to accomplish that, I mentioned the wheels, and then we're also taking the actual piece of plywood out of here, and then we're, you know, because this is going to sit flat on top the metal, basically. So this thing is 60 inches wide, 22 inches deep, and it's going to be great. So I picked this thing up, it was on sale. And then as far as the countertop, I get these things at Menards. It's like this slate basalt kind of look. I don't know. Been using my current one for like 3 years, and I absolutely love it. You cannot destroy that thing. I've been very hard on it. It's got some marks on it, but it has survived very well. So I have my cut line here. This particular bench is going to be 114.5 inches wide. I'll show you why in just a second. You have to excuse the noise. But this section here is where that bench will be going, and it is about 115 inches. So we're going to take a ½ inch off, give us a little bit of room to play. So the bench is going to go right there, and my existing bench will fit perfectly on that side. And that's why I want them to look aesthetically the same, is because that's all going to match. Now, once we get that thing cut, we will also go ahead and cut a piece of plywood to fit nice and securely underneath of that, and that'll be nice and form fit. But over here is the important part, our framework. So this is all steel. The uprights and then the cross members, that's just 2x2 by 1/8. And then I have a piece of 1x2 right here. That's gonna be kind of our horizontal support. And then I have some 1.5 inch angle. And that is gonna be what we use to actually hold the countertop down. So the way this is gonna work is we have 6 vertical legs. Each of those has 2 sections here, so we're gonna have a cross member on each. And then this section here is gonna be boxed down below. And then I can build some shelves if I want. We can always add to that in the future. And then this section is going to actually remain pretty open. Now we will have the section going across the front. And then beyond that, it's gonna be open in the back because that is where the toolbox is gonna fit. And it will be able to roll out or pull the bench back or whatever. They will just be independent of each other, instead of my other bench, which is completely like attached basically. My other bench, there's no wheels on the actual box themselves. They're built into cages that I made within the bench. So for now, I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and set these uprights on their side. We'll work on getting them squared up on the concrete because we have so much more room to work in here. And this floor is way better than the one at my house, let me tell you. So we get those vertical sections done, and then from there we can start adding our cross members here, get everything squared up, and it will start looking like a workbench real quick. And then when we are finished, we have our leveling feet. Now I get these from JW Winco. This is the same stuff I used on my last bench. So you have this plastic insert here, and these fit snugly into this section. So these are built for 2x2 by 1/8 inch wall tubing. You can get these in a variety of different sizes. But once we're ready, you know, we'll actually hammer these things in. And then from there you have a swiveling, you know, leveling foot there. So these are really heavy duty items. And I really like using them. So we got 6, that's what's gonna support the load here. And then the toolbox itself actually has six wheels, as you saw. And each of those is rated at like 300 pounds, so we're perfectly good here. But to put all of this together, I did go ahead and bring my Craftsman over. This thing I've had for just over 20 years now. And it's been a great little 110 volt MIG. So that, it's like a part of the family now.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Main supports or uprights are welded. They are now ground. Seth did all of that. Now we're gonna go ahead and, while we have a little bit of time today, we're gonna get them stood upright, get everything measured to fit around the box, and at least get this thing tacked into place. So it's gonna start looking like a bench any minute. have this thing very square actually. So we did really good on it. I still have this piece clamped to the front, just kind of keeping it braced and a little bit stronger. That way we're not relying on a single 1x2 piece of steel to kind of keep all this thing rigid. I also have just an extra piece of angle iron, we have 3 tacks on it, just keeping the legs from getting out of square that way. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut 3 square sections, and we're gonna have 3 pieces. So one there, and then of course one in back here. That will really kind of solidify this whole table. And then we'll still have that end kind of just hanging out in space. It is a concern, but the table itself is gonna fit very tightly into its given space. So it's not like it's gonna rock back and forth or even have the ability to. But yeah, once the angle iron is on and everything and it's actually like screwed to the countertop, it should get pretty rigid. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and, as I said, get that steel chucked up in here, and then we'll get 3 sections cut, get that welded on, and at that point I can go ahead and just cut this piece back off, and then we'll work on these 3 sections of angle iron. So one in back, one on either side here, and then one all the way up front. And that's pretty much gonna be it. And we'll kind of do some finish welding. We'll flip this thing all around and then just weld it. And then after I finish weld it, we'll just go ahead and paint it. So I did go ahead and cut the plywood that will fit underneath this thing. So unfortunately we have to have like 2 pieces, so full 8-foot section and then a 18.5-inch section. And then that will match up once I get this thing cut down. So we'll have wood all the way to the end. And yeah, it's gonna be awesome. All right, it's time to go ahead and put my 2 cross members in here. You guys notice I cut 2, not 3 pieces. That's because my 3rd piece is gonna come out of this upper brace that I'm using right now. So in the meantime, I'll go ahead and weld in these bottom 2, and then I'll feel more confident in just taking this thing back off. And we'll have less distortion. So now as I go to set these things in place, obviously today I'm solo, so it's a little harder to hold things where they need to be, but luckily, the actual bars that we put in here, I had those spaced 1 inch up. So I took my remaining 1x2 stock, put that there. I've confirmed my lengths, so it should be just slightly tight. There we go. Now this thing is perfectly squared up. It is exactly where it needs to be. And then I have also swept the floor right here because of all of that weld slag and grinding slag that can, if that gets under this, then your dimensions are gonna get thrown off. So just another little thing to do. But now, a nice, easy, accessible place to weld to. So I'll tack this up, and then I will do the same thing on the far side, get that tacked up, lay a couple beads, and then go ahead and pull this piece down, and we'll start cutting it. Get our 3rd leg up top, and then from there I can do my angle iron. Okay, now with that bar out of the way, I can go ahead and do my weld right here, along the front there, and of course along the front there, and I'll try to go ahead and get the underside. I might tilt this thing up when I'm done because that spot won't be in the way whenever I go to do the angle iron on here. So let's go ahead and do those welds really quick, and we'll be on to the next thing. all of the welding. All these joints here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's like 8 sides per corner. I mean, we got a lot of welds. So you notice I have this piece in here that was just an added brace because that leg is still kind of just dangling there on its own. And then I added another brace, just tacked that one back on. So we have our angle around the perimeter. And then I have this little piece to weld on still. Just kind of remembered that. So before we put the welder away, we will go ahead and attach that. That's our last piece. And then from there, just do some grinding, a lot of grinding, and then get this thing all cleaned up. All right, the table is complete as far as fabrication is concerned. I did go ahead and add this section right here, and that is just to have 4 more screw attachment points for the actual countertop. Since I can't have anything over here, try to eliminate flex as much as possible. And then I did add this angle iron down below here, and that's going to be for a piece of wood that we'll use. But overall, this thing's turned out great. Process went smooth. But the real MVP here is this tank. This thing was like, let's see. That needle hasn't moved, right? Yeah, this thing was like very low before we started. And I've just been expecting it to just quit and stop this whole time. It made it through. So this thing has been awesome. And that has saved us some time. But as now we're gonna clean up a little bit, and then we're gonna get the wire wheel out, clean this thing off on all the weld seams, and then we'll go ahead and get it primer and paint. And then get the top on. Gonna start looking good. So we're gonna clean the shop up a little bit right now. Get back at it. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and do the actual footing pads here. So these are actually designed for this exact size steel. Get her started. Tap it in. Alright, time to put the top on this thing because the paint is totally dry. We didn't just paint this thing, it's been hours now. How about this? You wanna literally like jump on top of this thing? Yeah, I'll have you get back up there. All right, we got the top on. It's looking good. This thing's solid. Nice gaps and seams all the way down, all the way across. And then the way I did these screws, the type I bought and stuff, they're, very low profile. It went in well. So, yeah, this thing is pretty much ready to just throw that in there and then move it up front. That's kind of it. And the final piece of the puzzle. Well, isn't this a thing of beauty? Super excited right now. You can see how cranked that workbench is over there. There was a lot of slope in my previous garage, and that's still leveled for it, so now I can go ahead and bring that thing down. And I might bring that edge down just a little bit, but this is looking good. So when I first looked at this place, this section, I measured it out, and I was like, I wonder if a workbench should go there. So I have not made any modifications, and it's like it was made to fit in this section. I love it. So that is why I built this bench to match, because I knew that one was going to go there. So now I can bring over my lift, which is also in the back, and we can start to get to work in here pretty soon. I still have to figure out what I'm going to do for my air compressor. I'm thinking it's probably going to still sit in the back, but I might actually have to run like those plastic PVC hard lines and get it all the way over here and maybe run it down along that wall with like a hose spool or something like I currently have. It's not like I need air up here that much, but you never know. So got to use it to run that lift. This one is manual, it's no big deal. But anyway, huge step forward. Okay, a little bit more leveled out. Yeah, got that looking right. So this one I can only bring down so far. Remember, we had to actually lower the toolbox there, so it can only go so low with those casters, and it just barely touches on the inside. So that's as low as it can possibly get, but it's within like, I don't know, 1/4 inch. So looking good. But we have the drawers slid back in, and now it's time to go ahead and throw that rug down, move the lift up here, and pretty much get to work. So now that we have this bench in here, you guys are probably wondering about the longevity of this countertop section. So this is the bench I've been using daily for 4 years. So you can see it is actually in really good shape. There are of course some chips and scratches and things like that, but I have been anything but easy on this. I mean, as an example, this was a burn because I had a piece of steel on here and just holding a torch on top as well as underneath. So, you know, that was, if you're careful, unlike me, that won't happen. I clean this thing with acetone and just keep it wiped off, and, you know, occasionally like a bump an engine into it or something and put a chip in it. But overall, this thing has been nothing but reliable. It has been very sturdy. It's easy to clean up, and it hasn't faded at all. I mean, I know it's not in direct sunlight, but you know, it has been a great countertop. And if you think about it, let's say this thing was needing to be replaced right now at 4 years. This countertop section was like 80 bucks. So in short, I could just unscrew this thing, slap a new counter on it, and be good to go, and you wouldn't need any other changes. So with this thing, I'm very confident that it will stand the test of time just like the other one, and I'm excited to use it. So looking back here, both benches in. You have to, never mind the panting that's been over here. But yeah, both benches are looking really good in here, and I'm excited to get to work.